So verse 28, I don't know whether I read that properly. All the enemies such as hatred and craving have neither any arms nor legs and are neither courageous nor wise. How have I, like a slave, been used by them? Like before that we read as if we were hypnotized. Verse 28 saying, although enemies such as hatred. Enemies such as hatred means there are many negative emotions, but the six main root causes of samsara is arrogance, ignorance, wrong view, attachment, anger, and doubt. The six. Attachment, hatred, arrogance, ignorance, wrong view, and doubt. Okay, so all the enemies such as hatred, this means these things. Now they have neither any arms nor legs and are neither courageous. Negative emotions, are they courageous? They are not courageous in the sense when we say they have no arms, no legs, that means they are not physical. Negative emotions are not physical. So therefore they don't come with weapons, destructive arms. They don't have that. And they also not a strenuous, brave warrior, because they come with laziness. Negative emotions come with laziness. So that way they are not hardworking. And they are also not wise, because all they do is deceive others. So therefore they don't have that wisdom. So therefore they are not wise. They are not wise because they accompany ignorance. They go and travel with ignorance. Okay, their friends is ignorance. Then this being the case, how have I, like a slave, been used by them? So if you look carefully, these negative emotions have none of these great qualities. But how these negative emotions have slaved us? Whether you call yourself as a lama, or a leader, or higher being, or lower being, powerful, weak, we are all enslaved. How come we are all enslaved by these negative emotions and took away our freedom and put us into suffering? And because of this influence of negative emotions, you run after name and fame, you run after wealth and enjoyment, and you are not able to rest in the day, not able to rest in the night, right? Because of these negative emotions. Today everybody is saying, I'm busy and running day and night. There's not much sense of day and night in big cities. When it's time to sleep, they are not sleeping. They wake up like an owl and then working the whole night. I've seen in many places this husband has a night shift, the wife has a day shift, so they hardly see each other. I know some Tibetans who work like that. Okay? And then of course, because of negative emotions, you also lose your life. For example, you go to war, especially in these days. In ancient times, when you don't have many of these destructive weapons, then you can at least show your bravery. You fight face to face. Now, somebody is sitting in an air-conditioned room and pushing the button. They are really playing with your life. You are being killed. But stupid as you are, still you join army. And almost for sure you are going to die. Still people go. in the name of the country because you are hypnotized by the leader saying that you are a brave man, you are a courageous person, you are a brave man, you are saving your nation. They say all these things and we get hypnotized. Ordinarily, if you kill one person, then you are imprisoned saying you are a murderer. But if you kill 100,000, you will welcomed back as a hero. This is how we live our life today, you see. If you kill one person, murderer. If you kill many, hero. If you copy from one book, plagiarism. If you copy from many, research. After 3 days, I'm invited to give a talk on research, So I'm going to say this. Copy from books. As many books as possible. Okay. Yeah, we are completely enslaved. We practice the order of the negative emotions and we suffer. For while they dwell within my mind at their pleasure, they cause me harm. See? For other enemies, they need a place to stay. These negative emotions, no place to stay, and they stay in your mind and not going to give you any rent, free. And you're not kicking them out. My anger, my jealousy, my hatred, please come and stay as long as you want. So they stay. For while they dwell within my mind, at their pleasure, you have not invited them. At their pleasure, you have no control, you're controlled by them. So they come, go as they wish. And not only they stay at their pleasure, but they cause you harm. They cause you harm. In the case of external enemy, there is a purpose. Maybe for their food, maybe for land, something like this. Negative emotions, what is their purpose of destroying you? Their purpose is only to destroy you, nothing else. Nothing. Yes, I patiently endure them without any anger, see? But this is an inappropriate and shameful time for patience. I think we discussed this earlier. Well, the next one is also read. Should even all the gods and demigods rise up against me as my enemies, they could not lead nor place me in the roaring fires of deepest hell. Yet the mighty foe, those disturbing conceptions, in a moment can cast me amidst those flames, which when met will cause not even the ashes of the king of mountain to remain. All other enemies are incapable of remaining for such a length of time as can my disturbing conceptions. The enduring enemy has neither beginning nor end. They are there with you forever. So what should we do now? Your enemy is staying with you. Your enemy is sleeping with you. Your enemy is spying you. What should we do now? If there is a real human enemy who is there with you 24 hours, how would you feel? And by the way, what is the definition of enemy? Enemy is somebody who destroys your happiness, destroys the happiness of your relatives, friends, who harm you, who harm your wealth, who harm your reputation, who harm your name, right? So therefore, negative emotions are your enemies. They do exactly that. As I said, the ordinary human enemy has a purpose. Maybe for their nation, maybe for their family, maybe for their food. But the negative emotions have no other purpose except to destroy you. So why are you so patient with these negative emotions? You are patient because you don't know. They are harmful, they are destructive. Now you know. This is a good beginning. Now you know who they are. So as I said the other day, now you say, Gone are the days when you deceived me, when you cheated me, because at that time I did not study Dharma, I have no knowledge. Now I know who you are. Get lost. No room here. No room here, get lost. So therefore you employ heedfulness, mindfulness, and vigilance. 24 hours now you should have that vigilance, that mindfulness, and see who is coming in your mind, who is going out of your mind. Welcome the positive emotions. Don't let the negative emotions come in. That's your job. Okay? There are some of the great Kadamba masters, they personify these negative emotions and they say, even if these negative emotions are so strong, they throw me down, their whole weight of their whole body is on me, I'm under them, I'm crushed. So there's nothing much I can do. The only thing is I scratch their face. Even if that is only thing that I'll do that. I will never ever submit to the dictates of these negative emotions. Personify it. Right? Okay? Powerless. So all other enemies are incapable of remaining for such a length of time as can my disturbing conceptions. The enduring enemy has neither beginning nor end. If I agreeably honor and entrust myself to others, they will bring me benefit and happiness. Ordinarily. If you wholeheartedly honor and entrust yourself to some other people, in most cases they will bring you benefit and happiness. They will also help you. But if I entrust myself to these negative emotions, in the future they will bring only misery and harm. Now here you should reflect or recall the way you lived your life in the past. Recall those occasions when you got angry. Recall all those occasions when you got angry. Recall all those occasions when you developed excessive attachment. Was it very beneficial or not beneficial? Write the story. Write the story. That's what I was saying. Do some research based on your past experiences. We all are advanced meditators when it comes to negative emotions. Right? We all have a lot of experience. So share that experience. No, not just listen to the teaching. Share your experience. Share your journey. And then say, yes, I did this when I was angry. Yes, I did this when I was greedy. And it really destroyed my life. It really harmed me. Right? That will be very good. That is actually eyewitness account. Eyewitness account. So these days people say, don't try to teach morality and ethics from top down. The Buddha said it. The Dalai Lama said it. That's good if you have trust, but many people don't want to trust that. So now the way to teach morality is from bottom up. Bottom up means, based on my own experience, I found your smiling at me is good. My smiling at you is good. My not harming is good. Your not harming me is good. And then write down those things, your experiences. That will be very convincing. That is like collecting the scientific data. To collect scientific data, you don't have to always go around with a machine, right? So that will be very useful. Share it to others in your talks, or conferences like that. Share those things, okay? While in cycle existence, how can I be joyful and unafraid, if in my heart I readily prepare a place for this incessant enemy of long duration, the sole cause for the increase of all that harms me. So that means, so long as you have these negative emotions, wherever you are, you cannot be happy. Okay? Wherever you are, you cannot be happy. So that means, even while you are in the samsara, while in cyclic existence, even though you are in cyclic existence, but still, as much as possible, if you have the positive emotions, loving kindness and so forth, the journey in the samsara, the life in the samsara will be much more pleasant, much more tolerable. Now you know you are already in the samsara. In addition to that, you don't still recognize the destructiveness of negative emotion, and you continue to have it, continue to get anger, jealousy and so forth, then how can you be happy? While in cyclic existence, how can I be joyful and unafraid? This is what I am saying. Even in samsara, the fears that you got, the lack of joy in your life, all this is because of negative emotion. If in my heart I readily prepare a place for this incessant enemy of long duration, incessant enemy of long duration, so incessant enemy of long duration means, as we have discussed earlier, these negative emotions are there with you for a long, long time. And they don't stop even for a moment. They continue to stay uninterruptedly in your mind. And there's no reason they should stay there. So just like the nature of the fire is to produce heat, nature of this negative emotion is to harm you. So long as you let these negative emotions stay comfortable in your heart and make their permanent place of habitat, and then what will happen? Then what happens is, if you listen to their big order, that will bring great destruction. If you listen to their kind of mediocre kind of or middle kind of instruction, the harm will be middle kind. And even if you do a little bit of what they say, it will bring some harm. And if you don't listen to them, they'll always harm you. And the result will be suffering. So this being the case, how come you continue to stay in this samsara without any fear? That's what he's saying. While in cyclic existence, how can I remain like this without joy and without fear, when in my heart I have allowed these negative emotions to stay forever? They are the sole cause for the increase of all that harms me. And the root cause of all these negative emotions is self-cherishing attitude and ignorance. It is because of self-cherishing attitude, I, me, mine all the time. When there is a thunder and lightning, the first thing that you fear is that lightning will fall on your head, of all people. If there's a rat running around in your room, first thing that comes in your mind is the rat will chop off my ear. You see my right? And how shall I ever have happiness if in a net of attachment within my mind there dwell the guardians of the prison of cyclic existence, these disturbing conceptions that become my butchers and tormentors in hell. So that is saying that you are in the samsara, and samsara is like a prison. So your birth within the three realms is like being imprisoned. And it is these negative emotions that they are the guardian of this prison. And then you suffer in all these different kind of hells, like the reviving hell, hot hell, cold hell, and so forth. They are called as butchers. Butchers are those who will take your life. So these negative emotions, so long as they continue to stay in your mind, then you will have that attachment that you don't want to remove these negative emotions. In a net of attachment within my mind. The reason that you are not abandoning these negative emotions is because of attachment. You have a net of attachment within your mind. Just like a net catches fish, so similarly you are caught there. So, because of this, and how shall I ever have happiness? That means, how can I have happiness in this life and in the future lives? So long as I am enslaved by these negative emotions. Next point is, it is now asking you to practice patience and undergo hardship in removing the negative emotions. Because these negative emotions, as we already read, is in your mind for a long time. In other words, the negative emotions are very strongly entrenched in the depth of your mind. So it is not easy to dislodge them. It's not easy unless you make effort. Now, effort means not just hardship. Effort means engaging in the work of removing the negative emotions happily. Happily. And the good news is, one good news, probably it will come somewhere down. One good news is, these negative emotions are happily staying in our mind, clearly showing that our effort is weak. We are not making any great effort. If you make the effort, then these negative emotions are weak. Somebody said it's easy to remove negative emotion because you don't need a nuclear bomb to destroy these negative emotions. It's only you make some effort, cultivate wisdom, loving kindness, bodhicitta, they'll go away. The only difficulty is, like somebody being addicted, eating chocolate. We are addicted. There's only we know attachment, anger. You think when you have, as I said the other day, when you think that when you have attachment, anger, then life looks colorful, That's why people think why they become monk, They shape their clothes. They can wear only one color cloth. Whereas we can change so many colors, yellow, blue, green, so many things, Right? So it's because of addiction. Now, instead of addiction, if you get more habituated with the positive emotions, then you form a good, instead of the addiction, you form a good habit. That habit will protect you. Right? So, cut those addictions. That's what he's saying. So, in order to do that, removing the negative emotions, uprooting the negative emotions will not come just by praying. It will come by realizing their destructiveness, the destruction that they did in the individual cases, in the case of the family, in the society, We can come up with so many examples. I mean, you can really write very interesting books on these points. So many, there's no shortage of examples how we are enslaved by negative emotions. Be it greed, be it unchecked consumerism, be it pollution, all these are rooted in negative emotions. We need to highlight that. So therefore, now you should have patience and undergo this kind of hardship in eliminating the negative emotions. Now you need to say, therefore, as long as this enemy is not slain with certainty before my very eyes, I shall never give up exerting myself towards that end. Now you are making this promise. I'll kill my enemy right in front of my eye. If I am not able to do that, I shall never give up exerting myself towards that end. And having become angry at someone who caused only slight and short-lived harm, self-important people will not sleep until their enemy is overcome. Now, ordinarily saying, having become angry at someone who actually did not do great damage, who caused only slight and short-lived harm, but even in that case, if you are a person with dignity, self-important people means if you are a person with the dignity, in a not necessarily in a very good sense, but anyway, if you have some kind of feeling of self-importance, and if you are not able to retaliate against those wrongdoings, you will be so angry that you will not be able to sleep. And that is what we have all experienced. For example, if you are angry, can you sleep peacefully when you are angry? Somebody said something, somebody did something, you could not say anything back or could not do anything back. Then when you go to bed, you keep on thinking, what should I do? What should I say next time when I meet? How should I retaliate? You keep on changing sides, You're not able to sleep. Now with all these wrongdoings of negative emotions, you are sleeping peacefully. Ye kya ho raha hai? What's happening? What's happening? The ordinary human enemies, even if you don't do anything, they will die, as I said the other day. You don't have to kill, they will die. These negative emotions, unless you do something, they are not going to go away. So why you are now entertaining them continuously? Right? So therefore, unless you should make this promise, therefore as long as this enemy is not slain with certainty before my very eyes, I shall never give up exerting myself towards that end. So you have only one job. You have only one job, and the most important job is to first reduce the negative emotions, their intensity. Now in your case or in my case, all of us have not just one negative emotion, we all have many types of negative emotions. Anger is there, jealousy is there, negative competition is there, hatred is there, so many negative emotions there. So what should you do now? First, you should identify one of these negative emotions which has a predominant presence in you, which has been bothering you for a long time. Deal with that. Reduce its control and its intensity. Right? And then of course, on a larger scale, deal with ignorance. That is the root cause of all negative emotions. So the way to uproot all negative emotions is uprooting ignorance. Uprooting ignorance. Okay? And if while engaged in a violent battle, now you are having a battle with negative emotions, the vigorous desire to conquer those whole disturbing conceptions will naturally bring them suffering at death. Men disregard the pain of being pierced by spears and arrows and will not withdraw until the day is won. So now again it is saying, while engaged in a battle, now in this case with negative emotion, The vigorous desire to conquer those whole disturbing conceptions will naturally bring them suffering and death. That means when you engage in this battle to fight with negative emotions, there will be some problems. Like for example, when you actually go to a battle, then there is a possibility that you will be killed. There is a possibility that you will be hurt. You're going to battle. So when you go for the battle to fight with the negative emotions, there will be a lot of inconveniences also, because you are changing your habit, changing your lifestyle, changing your way of thinking. So therefore naturally bring them, there will be some temporary inconvenience. Just as if you engage in a violent battle, ordinarily speaking, the vigorous desire to conquer those whole disturbing conceptions will naturally bring them suffering at death. You can lose your life when you engage in an ordinary battle. Right? But men disregard the pain of being pierced by spears and arrows and will not withdraw until the day is won. So they will keep on fighting until you get victory. Right? So similarly, when you wage war against the negative emotions, you should also not be coward. You should be strong and brave. If even scars inflicted by meaningless enemies are worn upon the body like ornaments, then why is suffering a cause of harm to me while impeccably striving to fulfill the great purpose? Meaning that even when you engage in ordinary war and conflict, and somehow if you are, shot by an arrow or gun, and that leaves a scar in your body, and then later on you display it to others to show your heroism. Then look, this is what I got when I went to the war. You will put it on your body like an ornament. So this being the case, when you fight with the negative emotions also, some of the problems, difficulties, hardships that you might encounter, you should bear that happily. Happily. You are working for everybody. Right? So this is something that you can talk about. You can something really display. Right? That's what he's saying. Another example, if fishermen, hunters and farmers, thinking merely of their own livelihood, enduring the sufferings of heat and cold, why am I not patient for the sake of the worldly joy? That means even if you don't do any spiritual practice, some kind of hardship you have to undergo, even to get your daily livelihood. And he gives the example, look at the fisherman, he sits by this river bank, hoping to catch fish. Sometimes he may not be able to catch much fish, but he sits there the whole day, tolerating the heat of the sun. And hunters and farmers, you see. It's a common sight to see the farmers who, cultivate rice, work in the rice field. Whole day their leg is in that water, and sometimes hurt by insects there and so forth. So many of these, farmers who do rice farming, if you look at their feet, it's really like in a bad shape. But they tolerate it, okay? If fishermen, hunters and farmers, and their purpose is only for this livelihood, for this life. Thinking merely is not a big deal. merely of their own livelihood, endure the suffering of heat and cold. This being the case, why am I not patient for the sake of the world's joy? Now, comparing to this problem suffered by farmers and hunters, the little bit of hardship that we encounter is not much. As I said the other day, you sit comfortably in a room, meditate, develop compassion, loving kindness. You are not working in the sun, heat, things like that. Right? So that therefore you practice a peaceful path leading to a peaceful fruit. So why you are not able to do this? When I promise to liberate all beings who dwell in the 10 directions as far as the ends of space, from their disturbing conceptions, I myself was not yet freed from mine. So he's saying that there is actually, on the one hand you said, you made a promise that I will achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. Right? Who dwell in the 10 directions. You made this, all sentient beings in the all directions. I will liberate them, I will deliver them. You made this promise. Although you made this promise, look at yourself. You are still controlled by the negative emotions. So what are you talking about? If you want to lead a life which is befitting your promise, then the first thing is start working to eliminate your internal negative emotions. When I promise to liberate all beings who dwell in the 10 directions as far as the ends of space, from their disturbing conceptions, that's what you said. But look at yourself. I myself was not yet freed from my negative emotions. Right? If your commitment to cultivate bodhicitta, to help all sentient beings achieve Buddhahood, that is a genuine commitment, then the first thing is, you start removing your negative emotions. You start moving towards that path of Bodhisattva. Then you will be able to do that. Otherwise not. Thus unaware of even my own capacity, was it not somehow crazy to have spoken like that? Yet, as this is so, I must never withdraw from vanquishing my disturbing conceptions. No one, when you look carefully, you must have made a very hasty decision. Because when you made this promise to liberate all sentient beings and cultivate bodhicitta, you were actually not knowing your own capacity. Unaware of even my own capacity, you made this promise. So was it not somehow crazy to have spoken like that? Meaning saying that I will make all sentient beings achieve Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Anyway, my mouth slipped. Anyway, I already made the promise. Now there is no way to go back. This is what's saying. Yet as this is so, I must never withdraw. It was a slip of tongue, but for a good cause. I made the gentleman's agreement, so I will not withdraw from, the most important thing is from vanquishing my disturbing conceptions, fighting with the negative emotions. And to do this will be my sole obsession. If obsession is good, then you should have only one obsession. That obsession or passion, whatever you want to call it, is if somebody asks you, what is the project? What is your latest project? My latest project is removing the negative emotions. If that is too big, they said my latest project is reducing my anger. I mean, amazing project. People may not, appreciate it right away because they always, when they think about, a project, they may think about how this project will bring money, how this project will entertain people, for temporary purposes. People think like that. But this project is amazing project. And to do this will be my sole obsession. Obsession? Obsession, I don't know. Obsession is a good word? Depends, yeah. Yeah. Can be good, yeah. Can be good. Okay. So in a good sense. And to do this will be my sole focus, concentration, obsession. Holding a strong grudge, I shall meet them in battle. And this whole book, Shantideva's Bodhisattva is telling you how to wage war against these afflictive emotions. I remember His Holiness Dalai Lama once saying that the negative emotions are cunning. Negative emotions are opportunistic. Negative emotions are very fond of bullying, exploiting. So they come in many different forms. If anger is suitable to you, they'll come saying, get angry. People are bullying you, so get angry. Looks like so negative emotion supporting you. And if you are in a shop, they'll say, buy this, you must buy this, you must buy this. This is the best thing. Buy this. Helping you develop your strong attachment, things like that. So the point is, these negative emotions come in many forms, and you are carried away by the dictates of these negative emotions. And therefore His Holiness Dalai Lama said, this book, just as the negative emotions are trying to corner you in many ways, similarly Shantideva is also trying to corner the negative emotions in many ways. Right? So therefore it's really, really important. Holding a strong grudge, I shall never meet them in battle. I shall meet them in battle, sorry. Yet disturbing conceptions such as these destroy disturbing conceptions and for the time being are not to be abandoned. Yet the disturbing conceptions such as these, when you say I shall meet them, having a strong grudge, until now we have been saying don't have resentment, don't have grudge, don't have anger. Now you are saying hold a strong grudge. What is this? So this is answered by saying, yet disturbing conceptions such as these, meaning grudge, the wish to revenge. Normally, revenge is termed as a negative emotion, which is discouraged, right? Which is discouraged. But he's saying that negative, disturbing conceptions such as this, in this context, is there to destroy your disturbing conceptions. So for the time being are not to be abandoned. So this kind of wish to revenge or grudge is not to be discarded or abandoned. That's the meaning. It would be better for me to be burned, to have my head cut off and to be killed, rather than ever bowing down to those ever-present disturbing conceptions. So that's why you are making a final conclusions by saying, come whatever, I'm never going to submit to the dictates of negative emotions. So there's another punchline or, that you can take from here by saying what you have learned. You say, I decided never ever to submit to the dictates of negative emotions. Bravo! You should say, you should take something from this teaching. Before I forget, I'm going to tell you. One is, you should say, whatever may come in my life, I will never make my mind unhappy. Whatever may come, this is almost like tantric initiation. I'm giving you a commitment, So the commitment is, whatever may come in my mind, in my life, I will never make my mind unhappy. There will be ups, there will be downs, there will be problems, there will be challenges, there will be difficulties. But make it a point not to make your mind unhappy. When your mind is not unhappy, when your mind is happy, whatever jobs, whatever activities, whatever works you do, you will be very successful. You will easily do it. Then another commitment that I just said is, whatever may come, I will never submit to the dictates of negative emotions. So there are many takeaways like this. All these teachings are takeaway, but there are some which are very powerful. You should remember that. Okay? Common enemies, when expelled from one country, simply retire and settle down in another. Though when their strength is recovered, they then return. However, the way of this enemy, my disturbing conceptions, is not similar in this respect. So again, the good news, as I said, is that in the case of ordinary human enemy, even if you vanquish them, they'll go to some other place, gather the force, gather more force, make more destructive weapons, and will come again to destroy you. But it's not like that. In the case of negative emotions, if you are able to expel them one time, then there is no other place for them to go. Because until now they did not find any place, therefore they are staying with you in your mind. Because you are vulnerable, you are innocent, they took advantage of it. Now if you once expel them from your mind, they have no other place to go. If I remove my anger will not go and enter into your mind. No. My anger will not go to America and then come back to revenge. No. Right? So all this shows we did not make any effort in removing these negative emotions. Okay? So therefore they are not similar with ordinary enemy. Deluded, disturbing conceptions, when forsaken by the eye of wisdom and dispelled from my mind, where will you go? So this of course English translation is difficult to have exact meaning. So what he is saying here is, for the sake of understanding, he used the word deluded, disturbing conception. But actually the actual meaning is weak disturbing emotions. Weak disturbing emotions means these disturbing emotions are weak. If you make some effort, they will not be able to challenge you. They are not like external enemy. They will submit and go away. So therefore they are weak. They are weak. And dispel from my mind, where will you go? There is no other place to go. Where will you dwell in order to be able to injure me again? No, it's not possible. Weak-minded, I have been reduced to make. It's because of my own weak-mindedness. It is because of my not making any effort that I have been reduced to making no effort. I'm not able to make that effort. If these disturbing conceptions do not exist within the objects, the sense organs, between the two or elsewhere, then where do they exist and how do they harm the world? They are like an illusion. Thus I should dispel the fear within my heart and strive resolutely for wisdom. For no real reason why should I suffer so much in hell. So meaning that if you look at how these negative emotions arise, they do not exist in the object. If they exist in the object, then, for example, there is an interesting object there. If the negative emotions exist there, then whoever look at that object should cultivate that negative emotion. It doesn't happen, right? So it means it is not there, it is in your mind, in your way of thinking. In your way of thinking. So therefore there is one very interesting teaching in one of the sutras where it says, you should not be like a dog chasing the stone which somebody had thrown at the dog. For example, if you throw this has two interpretations. One interpretation, as I'm saying right now, is if you throw a stone to a dog, what will the dog do? The dog will first chase the stone, then maybe later towards you. So in terms of this particular practice, the teacher is saying this is not the good thing. You don't go to the object. When you develop negative emotion, don't say that it comes from the object, it comes from you. So go straight to the one who threw the stone. And another example which says you should be like a lion. If you throw a stone to the lion will not run up to the stone, the lion will come straight to you. So you should be a lion. That's one way of explanation. Another way of explanation is, in a different context, another way of explanation is, when somebody does some harm to you, for example, and human beings will immediately go to that person. So in this particular kind of interpretation, this is good, it's like lion. Huh? But another way of thinking is, if somebody throws a stone to you, what you are directly hit is the stone. The one that directly hurt you is the stone, not the person. So why you don't go to the stone, and why you not go to the stone and instead you go to the person? For example, if you're moving, singing, carelessly, moving your hand, and then you hit your hand against a thorn, and the thorn pricks you, you are bleeding, then to whom you should get angry? The thorn, right? The thorn. So what should you do? Hit against the thorn? Hit against the thorn? Then why when a human being hurts you, why you're so angry and you try to go to retaliate to that person? Why? Huh? Not to throw another stone, or instead people will say, of course, we are intelligent, we are not stupid, therefore the stone did not come by itself, it was thrown by the person, so I go to the person, I went to the person. Then they say, okay, you thought you're intelligent, but you're not intelligent. If you're intelligent, then you should go to the root. The person threw the stone because of the negative emotion. You're neither going to the main source, which is negative emotion, nor to the object which directly hit you. You're choosing somebody, catching somebody in between. The poor human being, Balika Bakra. Huh? Why this is so? Right? So in that case, again, even if you say like a lion, you go to the source. The source is negative emotion. And that's what we discussed earlier. Okay? If these disturbing conceptions do not exist within the objects, the sense organs, between the two or elsewhere, then where do they exist and how do they harm the world? They are like an illusion, thus I should dispel the fear within my heart. They are like an illusion means the negative emotion comes from your mind. And like any other phenomena, the negative emotions does not have concrete independent existence. Therefore, I should dispel the fear within my heart and strive resolutely for wisdom. Since these negative emotions are very vulnerable, they are fragile, they don't exist independently. They're depending on causes and conditions. So therefore, if you, instead of developing fear, if you develop wisdom, which sees the reality of the negative emotions, it will disappear. Even if it is a very, very, strong negative emotion that has been there within you for a long, long time, you can remove it. Just like, for example, let us say this temple never had a light for 20 years, completely dark. But suddenly you put on the light, all these 20 years of darkness will be gone, right? Will be gone. So similarly, if we develop the wisdom, the light of wisdom, the negative emotions within us can also be removed. That's what he's saying. Therefore, having thought about this well, I should try to put these precepts into practice just as they have been explained. If the doctor's instructions are ignored, how will a patient in need of a cure be healed by the medicine? So that is the final concluding remark by saying that Therefore, having thought about this well, if you have not thought about this well, please do think about this well. Take some time, read this again. It's not enough just listen one time. Now luckily there are a number of, not only these texts, but commentaries are there in English also. Procure them, read again, reflect, think. And then you try to put these precepts into practice just as they have been explained. Don't just read the menu, but order the food and eat. Okay? Because if the doctor's instructions are, however good the doctor is, but if his instructions are ignored, how will a patient in need of a cure be healed by the medicine? For example, there are people who go to the doctor, and when the doctor gives some medicine, they don't eat it. Or if the doctor, suggests you to change your lifestyle, stop smoking, stop drinking, things like that, you don't do it. So how can you heal yourself? You see? All right. What's it? You need to check. Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is on vigilance. Vigilance, the word vigilance is very easy to say. Here he has used the word guarding alertness, vigilance. So vigilance here means whether you are among many people or you are staying or living alone, you should always examine the conduct of your body, speech and mind, and accordingly give up those that needs to be given up and adopt those that must be adopted. That is called vigilance. Vigilance. The purpose of mindfulness is to let your mind stay on the chosen object, and the purpose of vigilance is to see whether the mind is staying on that object or not. Okay. So therefore, the first point is you should repeatedly examine the state of your body and your mind. What are you thinking right now? Positive or negative? What are you physically doing now? Positive or negative? You need to repeatedly judge the state of your mind and body. Because in order to protect the precepts, that's what we concluded in the last chapter, practice the precepts. In order to practice or protect the precepts, you need to protect or guard your mind. Therefore, you should be vigilant, guarding alertness. Now here, the first thing that you need to know is mindfulness, which is not forgetting. what you should adopt and what you should discard. Being able to focus on the topic of what needs to be adopted and what needs to be discarded. Nature of vigilance is, as I already said, whether you're among some people or whether you're alone, just examine whether the mindfulness is staying on the object and thereby adopting what needs to be adopted, discarding what needs to be discarded. Now, in order to do that, you should first know what are those things which you should adopt, practice. What are those things which you should discard? If you have no sense of that, then you will not be able to, maintain mindfulness. You should know that, okay? So therefore, without knowing what to protect, if you say that I'm protecting something, it is just laughable, okay? So, therefore, now here the most important thing is you should be a teacher to yourself. You should be a teacher to yourself. That means your mind should be like a horse. Your mind should be like a horse. And the mindfulness is like a rope or the rein. And your vigilance is like the human being who is riding on the horse. So therefore, now if the mind does not guard it by mindfulness and vigilance, then you will not be able to protect your precepts. So therefore he's saying, those who wish to guard their practice or precepts, those who wish to guard their precept means the three trainings of morality, of concentration, of wisdom, those who wish to guard the precepts, the three precepts, should very attentively guard their minds, mindfulness. For those who do not guard their minds will be unable to guard their practice. So with your mind, if you don't maintain mindfulness and vigilance and do not guard it from the harms and the invasions of the negative emotions, then you will not be able to guard your precepts. So therefore, when it comes to protecting the mind, you should do that not because being ordered by a king, but with your own understanding. Now this is important because all the harms, sufferings that we get primarily comes from your mind. Verse number 2. In this world, unsubdued and crazed elephants are incapable of causing such harms as the miseries of the deepest hell, which can be caused by the unleashed elephant of my mind. That means if there is an crazy elephant, if you let it loose, then it will also bring about a lot of destruction. But then the destruction done by the negative emotions is much, much more than the destruction done by that crazy elephants. Because the destruction done by the negative emotions is that it will throw you into negative state of existence in hell. Such harms cannot be done by crazy elephants. However, if the crazy elephant like my mind is firmly bound on all sides by the rope of mindfulness, all fears will cease to exist and all virtues will come into my mind. That means your mind is really like that crazy elephant. Now with mindfulness, do not let your mind get lost in the past experiences. Do not let your mind wander into the future projects and plannings. And also do not let your mind carried away by present situations. Make sure that your mind engages properly towards the chosen object, just like the elephant being tied to tied to a pole, then all the virtuous practices that you want to do will come easily. That's what he's saying. And all virtues will come into my hand. That is the meaning. That means without much difficulty. If you have mindfulness, vigilance, there will be not much difficulty in doing the practice. Doing the practice becomes difficult because most of the time you are distracted. You are distracted. You are sitting here, but you are maybe thinking something else. Distraction, right? And similarly, all fears will cease to exist. That means fears of this life, fears of future life. Now, in this case, the fears of this life is maybe the fear from the lion, from the tiger, from the elephant, from snakes, from robbers and thieves like that. And even these fears that you have in this life are primarily due to negative emotions. And then the fears of the future lives, that is being born in a hell realm and guarded by the beings in the hell realm, where you encounter frightful guardians of the hell. Right? So all this are a result of your negative emotions. Tigers, lions, elephants, bears, snakes, and all forms of enemies, the guardians of the hell worlds, evil spirits and cannibals, will all be bound by binding my mind alone. So it is not blaming the external objects. It is saying that all these fears that you get in this life from tiger, lion, and elsewhere, similarly all the fears, that sufferings that you get in the future lives, all these fears will be gone, will all be bound, will all be destroyed by controlling my mind alone. And all will be subdued by subduing my mind alone. Like in the case of the writer of this text also, it is said that the animals normally are antagonistic to each other. In front of him, they would lie down together, not harming each other. You see? And I've seen a number of people, I don't know how they do it. There are people who live with snakes. Have you seen some of those? I mean, on the screen, documentaries. Otherwise, I will be frightened. Yeah, there are people, I don't know how to do it. When they go to work and when they come home, the room is full of snakes. And he lie down and the snakes just crawl and say, oh, cool, nice, And then there are people who live with lions. They may know some tactics, but it's also because when you have not fear, less fear, there will be less problem, less negative emotion. Like for example, look at the dogs, They are in a way animal, but in a way they are very clever. If you go with some negative emotion, the dog senses it actually. They'll not come closer. If you show the gesture, of course they understand. Even without gesture, I'm saying. They're very clever, you see. So therefore, one reason, somebody asked this question about vegetarianism, So in one of the book it says, another benefit of being vegetarian, not eating meat, is if you eat meat, then other animals actually can smell the smell that of meat that you have eaten. So then many of them they say, oh, he's eating our types. So they get scared. It's one sutra, which is very, very possible. You see, we don't know this. There are many things they know we don't know. If there's an earthquake coming, the cows and other dogs, they know much before us. You see? So they smell who are you, whether you are good or not, The perfect teacher, that means Buddha, himself has shown that in this way all fears as well as all boundless miseries originate from the mind. For the time being, forget about other negative emotions, at least fear. Many people say, I fear, I have fear, I have fear. In today's society, many people say, I have this kind of fear, that kind of fear. But the fear has its sustenance, root in our mind, in our negative emotions. Will all be bound by binding my mind alone. Meaning that if your mind is controlled by loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, and meditative stabilizations, then you will be able to control all these external and internal harms. And likewise, the fears of this life and future lives also because as a result of your mental distraction. You are distracted and continue to commit many negative emotions, therefore you suffer. So this is what the perfect teacher has taught. This is so because the reason of saying that this is all related to your mind is, for example, we do talk about realm of hell, right? Verse number 7, for example, is saying, who intentionally created all the weapons for those in hell? We talk about hot hell, where there is a burning plate, iron plate, where we all will be baked, just like potato or omelette. There are many explanations like this, okay? So therefore, in a challenging note, he says, it's all your mind. Otherwise, who intentionally created all the weapons for those in hell? Who created the burning iron ground? From where did all the women in hell ensue? The Mighty One, the Buddha has said that all such things are the workings of a negative mind. Hence, within the three world spheres, there is nothing to fear other than my mind. Right? Nowadays, even you can do some experiment, You put your head into that machine, where they do, what they call it, MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, right? MRI. So they put some wires, certain parts of your brain. In some cases, you experience you're in heaven. They did this experiment. In some cases, you experience, almost like hell, very frightening. You reach immediately in very frightening places, They are doing this experiment right now, these days. So brain basically means very much related to your way of thinking. Okay? So, we discussed about this coil of rope, seeing that as a snake. There is no snake, but you thought there is a snake, you get equal amount of fear. Yeah.
Geshe, regarding the experiment when they put the electrodes or whatever
Yeah.
and affect your brain,
Yeah.
that's affecting your brain, but you're having an experience that is your consciousness or your mind. So, but in Buddhism, the brain isn't really the thing; it's just there.
Probably that the grosser level of mind is very much related to the brain. So when you manipulate the brain, depending upon what area, you have different experiences, I think.
We're only at the grosser level.
Yeah.
How does that relate to the imagination?
Imagination also, even when you imagine something, I'm sure, ordinarily speaking, it is done through the brain, the mind and brain together probably. Because, it affects your whole being. When you imagine something, it definitely makes an impact in your brain, in your thinking, both.
Then when you work in visualization in Buddhism, where does that fall?
Depends upon how subtle, as I was saying. On the grosser level, very much together, both the mind and the brain. But when you go very, very subtle, probably then the dependence on brain is not needed, probably. And that's what happens when you die. Okay. The Mighty One has said that all such things are the workings of negative mind, hence within the three-world spheres. That means three-world spheres means three-world realms, which is desire realm, form realm, and formless realm. Hence within these three-world spheres, within the samsara, there is nothing to fear other than my mind. Okay? Now he is trying to prove this. Prove this by saying, for example, in terms of, we talk about practice of six perfections. Okay, the first is practice of perfection of generosity, giving. And perfection of generosity is also a state of mind. That's what he's saying. If the perfection of generosity is not a state of mind, but it is really alleviating the world's poverty, then it means Buddha has not reached that state of perfection, because still we see so many poor people. So it is mind. If the perfection of the generosity were the elevation of world's poverty, then since beings are still starving now, in what manner did the previous Buddhas perfect it? So it's not so much alleviating the poverty of the people, having plenty for them to enjoy, but it is a mental state. The Buddhas have reached that state of perfection in terms of their mind. Okay? The perfection of generosity is said to be the thought to give all beings everything, together with the fruit of such a thought. Hence, it is simply a state of mind. Similarly, practice of morality. Nowhere has the killing of fish and other creatures been eradicated. For the attainment of merely the thought to forsake such things is explained as the perfection of moral discipline. So in the case of perfection of moral discipline, it's not reaching a state where nobody is killed. Killing is still going on. Nowhere has the killing of fish and other creatures been eradicated. It is still happening. Because the attainment of merely the thought to forsake such things is said to be perfection of moral discipline, which the enlightened beings have achieved. Similarly, practice of patience. Unruly beings are as unlimited as space. They cannot possibly all be overcome. However, if I overcome thoughts of anger alone, this will be equivalent to vanquishing all foes, all enemies. So achieving perfection of patience doesn't mean that you have done away with all the enemies, because still there are so many unruly people. So it is again state of your mind. Where would I possibly find enough leather with which to cover the surface of the earth? Yet wearing leather just on the soles of my shoes is equivalent to covering the earth with it. This is a wonderful example, right? For example, in the name of practice of patience, if you achieve that, if it is necessary to achieve that state of perfection of patience by having eliminated all the enemies, that is simply impossible. But if you achieve that state in your mind, that is the achievement of perfection of patience. For example, he then gives an example. For example, in order to make sure that your feet is not pricked by thorn, if you come up with a project of covering the whole globe with leather, it's impossible. It's not only impossible, but you don't have to do that. You just cover the sole of your feet. This is equal to having covered the whole globe with leather. And this is a wonderful example. Okay? Likewise, it is not possible for me to restrain the external course of things, but should I restrain the mind of mine, what would be the need to restrain all else? Although the development of merely a clear Okay, verse number 14 is saying the perfection of effort or perseverance also has to come on the basis of the mind. Oh, sorry, this is verse number 15. Verse number 14 is continuation of the practice of patience. Likewise, it is not possible for me to restrain the external course of things, but should I restrain this mind of mine, what would be the need to restrain all else? Now, perfection of effort. Although the development of merely a clear state of concentration can result in taking birth in Brahma's realm, physical and vocal actions cannot so result when accompanied by weak mental contact. So that means, although the development of merely a clear state of mind, not concentration actually, a clear state of mind, that means if you have a state of mind which is very clear in terms of your practice of loving kindness, in terms of practice of your compassion, and that way if your mind is not, lackluster or sleepy, then by developing such a clarity of mind through effort, now this is not talking about concentration, this is talking about practice of perfection of effort. So when you develop such a clear state of mind of having developed loving kindness and compassion, then the result will be taking birth in the Brahma realm and experience special joy. Okay? There is a story of a mother and a son trying to cross a river, and both of them are carried away by the force of that river. But they were so much of love towards each other, so much care towards each other. Because of that, they are born in higher realms. There is a story like that. So that is, the result of developing just one clear state of mind of loving kindness and compassion. Okay? So that obviously is the power of the mind. And other than the power of the mind, even if you make a lot of physical effort, right, that will have not that much fruit. Physical and vocal actions cannot so result when accompanied by weak mental conduct. So mind has to be there, right? And therefore, and the next verse number 16 is talking about perfection of concentration. The knower of reality has said that even if recitation and physical hardships are practiced for a long period of time, they will be meaningless if the mind is distracted elsewhere. That means concentration means your mind being able to focus on an object without getting distracted. If you are distracted, even if you are reciting holy words, or even if you are undergoing some hardship, physically undergoing some hardship, but mind is distracted, it is of not much benefit. Your body is here, your mind is in the marketplace, shopping. right? So then there is not of much benefit. Don't get distracted. Okay. Then wisdom, perfection of wisdom. Even those who wish to find happiness and overcome misery will wander with no aim, no meaning, if they do not comprehend the secret nature of the mind, the paramount significance of Dharma. So that means if you don't know, the most important thing for you to know is to discover the secrecy of your mind, the secret nature of your mind. What is the secret nature of your mind? The secrecy of the mind. Huh? Huh? What? Huh? Pure and luminous? Oh, let me see what this text says. It says, the mind is by nature empty and without self, just like any other phenomena. And that nature is there with all of us. But we don't know, therefore it is secret. It has remained as a secret because we don't know. All external phenomena are reflected in the mind, which is like a mirror. They are all created by the mind. So in a way, they are not beyond the mind. They all need to be proved and established by the mind. But the mind itself, whether it is shape, color, things like that, when it is born, when it's going to disappear, where does it live? All this you don't know. Therefore it is secret. So therefore, one of your most important tasks is to understand the secret nature of that mind. If they do not comprehend the secret of the mind, the paramount significance of Dharma, this being so, I shall hold and guard my mind well. Without the discipline of guarding the mind, what use are many other disciplines? What use are many other disciplines? That means, you undertake fasting. You undertake, sitting meditation. Okay? Observe very strict physical conduct when you are doing 10 days vipassana meditation. Right? But still, if you so externally you look very good, You undergo all these hardships, but who can control the mind? The mind, and it's so interesting, the more you try to control yourself, the more the mind finds a way to go out. I once met somebody who said, Geshe, before I meditated, I was a nice person. After I meditated, I become a bad person. And this is not true, but it looks like that. Before you meditated, you have no idea who is coming, who is going in your mind. The doors and windows of your mind is open 24 hours. Negative emotions are coming, going, jealousy coming, going, anger coming, going. There's no security check, nobody, nothing. As we already read, they come and dwell in my heart as they please, and then harm me. That's what they do. But you don't pay attention to this. Of all the things, you are the one who is least understood by you. I remember His Holiness Dalai Lama once saying to a group of scientists, I think in America, who are like talking about the different galaxies, so many things, stars and so many things. He's always said, you should find the mystery under this scalp, in the brain. You see? In science, the youngest science is neuroscience. Physics was there a long time back. Neuroscience now only how many years old? 20, 30 years. Very old. And then about mind, still nothing. There's no instrument to measure the state of mind, So oneself is the least understood thing. So we must understand oneself first of all. Learn to go within yourself. Learn your emotions. Learn how to do away with the negative emotions, how to strengthen and cultivate the positive emotions. That's the most crucial, important project that we can do. Somebody very truly said, before I was clever, I tried to change the world. Now I am wise, I am changing myself. Right? And I also say, think globally, act locally. When it comes to showing loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, it's very easy to say, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. All sentient beings, most of the sentient beings, you have no clue who they are. You're just talking. Developing loving kindness, compassion to others is easy, but the problem is the next door neighbor. Or your family members, with whom you stay, with whom you work. So think globally, act locally. Be nice to the people, your family members, your neighbors, people who you have to deal with on a daily basis. If you are able to achieve success in that, then you can easily develop that bodhicitta or kind of global consciousness towards everybody. Right? Okay, some questions?
I meant to ask this morning about using religion as a unifying force instead of a dividing force. What should we do when we're faced with this situation? For example, a Christian who would tell us, oh, you're following Buddha, so you'll go straight to hell. And especially if it's a child concerning his or her parents who wants to follow Buddhism and Christian parents, for example.
Yeah, this question was asked to the Buddha at his time. There were a number of villages around. So many teachers come and give teaching. One teacher comes and gives the teaching by saying, this is the best path, this is the shortcut, this is the easy to understand path, practice this. After a while, another teacher comes, gives a different teaching and says, this is the best path, this is the shortcut, this is the easy path, follow this. Right? So some of the members from those villages went to Buddha, said, we have this problem, Different teachers are coming, saying different things. What should we are confused, what should we do? Then the Buddha said, Aapka khobri istemal karo. Use your brain. The Buddha said, listen to all the teachers, but use your brain. Use your brain. I mean, imagine, this question was, this is a very beautiful question, Question was asked to the Buddha about the God. And then the Buddha said, I don't know. First you talk to that person who has actually saw God. Ask your teacher. The teacher will say, no, I did not see God directly, but my teacher told me. So in this way you go, nobody has seen God. We are only talking. You see?
But when we're faced with someone religiously intolerant, even if we believe...
No. If they're intolerant, don't try to change them. Let them do whatever they like. If they say, you'll go to hell, you say, I'm happy to go to hell. Because hell is not that horrible. Hell is horrible? I'll tell you this. This is very interesting. Somebody said, don't worry in life. Don't worry in life because either you're healthy or you're sick. If you're healthy, no need to worry. Now, if you are sick, there are two possibilities. Either you will die or you will recover. If you recover, no need to worry, fine, right? If you die, two possibilities. Either you go to hell or to heaven. If you go to heaven, of course, no problem. And if you go to hell, also no problem, because all your friends are waiting there. Hello, when did you come? How did you come? So let people say. Some people, they seriously, they do not mean to hurt you. They seriously think that you are wrong, on the wrong path. And they want to help you put on the right path. I myself met one lady in Madras many years back when I was probably a student at that time. I went for 1 month's Buddhist Christian exchange program. I was then translated to a senior teacher. So one morning there was a Sunday church going on. So we just went there. So there was an elderly lady. Then she said, "Are you a Buddhist?" I said, "Yes, I'm Buddhist." Do you meet Buddha every day?" I said, "No, I don't." "Oh, what a pity. I meet Jesus every day." Then I said, "Wonderful, you're happy, you're meeting, Jesus every day. I don't meet or see Buddha every day, but I pray and study his teaching. I'm also happy, So she was really saying, she was really thinking, obviously you're not seeing, every day, but intuition or something, So she was really saying that I'm on the wrong path, So there are people not necessarily with bad intention, but there are others who, of course, are fanatic, things like that. So don't worry, let them say whatever they do. As I said the other day, if people say you're a dog, you're not going to become a dog, right? Let them say, use your brain, that's what the Buddha said. Don't just follow somebody, use your brain as much as possible. Okay? Yeah.
If someone commits a crime against you, what's the Bodhisattva's way of approaching the situation? Do you forgive them with loving kindness and compassion? Or you go to the state machinery and, the justice system?
Bodhisattva's way of life is to study that situation carefully. Okay? Study that situation carefully, use your brain again, use your wisdom, and even in the Bodhisattva practice, they never say that let the wrongdoers continuously let them do the wrong things. All these teachings are to rectify the wrongdoers, right? So whichever is the best course to help them change, become better, that should be there. Then, of course, as a kind of immediate response, if there is a threat to your life, don't say, "I'm Bodhisattva, kill me," because you have not reached that state. If you reach that state, then no problem. But we have not reached that state. So we have to defend our life. We want to do more good things. So it's very important you protect your life. So in that case, even if you have to go to court, you should go to court. Right? So, these positive emotions are our strength, not weakness. By practicing Buddhism, we are not saying now from today onwards, I will become a doormat. Clean your feet on me. We are not saying that. We are not saying that. Right? So therefore, be compassionate and tough. Toughness is needed in today's life. Not through, toughness never comes through anger. Anger makes you blind. Maintain your sanity, clarity of mind, and if you get angry with somebody who is doing wrong things, you also end up joining them, If you touch shit, your hand will also be dirty, right? So make sure that you don't join his way of thinking and lifestyle. Maintain your sanity, maintain your mental clarity, and when you're calm and clear, then you will say only those things which is necessary, which is logical. You will not just say anything that comes from the mouth. So because of that, there is every possibility that even if you go to a court, you will win. Right?
That way, like 10, 20 years of fighting that case in the court and putting yourself through the...
I don't know, 20 years cases of fighting, sometimes or mostly this is related to property, money, things like that, I know many people who have this problem. So they are also, if it is a just cause, you continue to fight for that. Right? Especially if you want to do good things, if you're a practitioner, you deserve that property and money more than anybody else. Because that other person might squander away that money, that, it's not only your right, but even in terms of how you're going to use it, will be beneficial, so in that sense. But you should be the judge of the situation. All right, yeah.
How can death be empty if it's a certainty? How can death or dying be an empty concept also?
Death also does not have independent inherent existence in that sense.
So that means that death is also like an illusion of the mind?
Yeah. I mean, it's very much dependent on the mind. Because the mind gives the designation. Therefore, there is a statement in one of the Buddha's teaching which says, the mind does not exist in mind because the nature of mind is clear light. Okay.
Regarding the think globally and act locally, you might know that in Iran there has been a protest that started by women to get their basic rights.
Yes.
So my question was, how can I help? Should I go back and fight on the street? Or should I just stay here and support them? But supporting them, it's kind of like, I don't want to support them to go get killed.
Exactly.
But I want the government to change.
You said it. You see, in order to achieve something, sometimes you have to be tough. Sometimes you have to be soft. Sometimes you have to withdraw. Sometimes you have to advance. So there is not one solution. Like for example, now, in the beginning of this movement, it really looked like it's very successful, The crowd is big, and then because of this death of this young girl, there was a big support, even from the West, things like that. Then gradually they tightened, you see. Now everybody who is doing that, they don't hesitate imprisoning, punishing, even killing. So in a very desperate situation, you see. So I think you need to find some other ways of doing that. Sometimes maybe in a more tactical way, you may be able to discuss this with those higher-ups. Not just the one side, even if you're right, if you don't talk to the people concerned, then there is direct confrontation, nobody is going to listen to each other. So it's important to talk. discussion, any problem. I think some of these dictators may not want to listen, but we need to find different venues. But don't commit suicide. Really, sometimes, it's very sad. In Tibet also it's happening, because we can't talk to these authoritarian Chinese leaders. So they are compelled to commit suicide. But committing suicide is no solution. But we can't also say don't do that, because that's the last thing they are doing, you see. So already how many people self-immolated themselves, you see. When self-immolation was done in Vietnam, just one monk, doing that self-immolation was able to change the regime, because there were at least some people listening to those things, paying attention to these things. Now in country like in China right now, if you self-immolate yourself, it's your loss, honestly speaking, you see. But we can never say this to those people who do this. We can never say you are stupid. They are really sacrificing the most important thing. So how many people have already self-immolated themselves? Right? So it's better not to resort to such things. And to live and to be clever and find all the ways and means. Whether it's preserving your culture, language, religion, those things you can do quietly, do so many things for which you are fighting. Like, for example, empowering the women. Not only is having slogan and saying, I want this right, but educate them further, make them stronger. And very soon they will be able to get their rights, you see. The women will go get higher positions. All those things are there, you see. Right? So there is, in Buddhism we say there is offensive and defensive. Both are necessary. Okay. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for somebody who feels a pull towards the monastic path, who also feels that it is the best project, but at the same time has a few attachments and is just plain scared to take that leap of faith?
No, the problem with people is, if you see one monk doing bad, then they think all the monks are like this. If you see one woman doing bad, they'll say all women are like this. This is like picking up one grain and say this is all the grain available in the world. So this is wrong. So you need, if there is a possibility, you tell them, no, there are so many good people. There are so many good monks. You just listen and follow the good ones, not the bad ones. But we have this habit of focusing on what is bad and criticizing it, and you yourself not doing anything. That's the problem, you see.
Sorry, I think maybe I wasn't clear with my question. I was saying, like, I'll just be blunt, like I'm thinking about becoming a monk and I'm scared to do it.
Yeah.
So, like, what is the
No, I'm saying this because you said...
Sorry?
You said appalled by the
No,
monastery.
not appalled, a pull towards the
Pulled,
monastery.
sorry. I said appalled.
Not appalled, no.
Sorry.
No, the opposite.
Yeah, the opposite. Pulled by.
Pulled.
Yeah. Now I got, yes. Now I got. But you see, this is a good way, but don't get excited. Take time. You see? Just as the Bodhisattva commitment, without proper judgment, I decided, now no way to withdraw, I will continue. If you want to do that, do that. But take time. It's not easy. Number of people before came to me saying they want to become monk and nun. And I'm bad, Many lamas, they would say, oh, so good, please become monk. Most of the lamas say that. So they are good people, I'm not good. So I tell them, okay, if you want to become monk, Where are you going to live? Forget about many other things. First few practical things. If you become a monk, what will be the reaction of your relatives, your parents? Where are you, even if they permit, where are you going to live? Who will look after your expenses? It's not easy saying I'm become a monk and then somebody will come, okay, come and take care of everything. It's not like that, you see. So therefore, there's a strict advice, in the ceremony of become a monk. A question is asked. One of the questions that is asked is, have you had permission from your parents? There's a traditional process of doing things when you become a monk. Or are you not a criminal? The number of set of questions are being asked, things like that. So first, I think the most important thing is study more about general Buddhist practice and also about monastic life. And then, of course, your parents, giving permission, not giving permission, whatever.
What happens if they don't give permission?
Then you need to explain, take time. That's why I'm saying take time, explain.
Get them
So
on
one
your
very good way of doing things is, parents, like anywhere, not necessarily they are bad, but the way of thinking of ordinary people, including parents, is they think that your son is successful, your daughter is successful only if they are earning money, honestly speaking. It all comes down to this. Now if you say monk, or clear, you have no money. You see? So maybe after becoming a monk, he will take money from us. Forget about he's helping us, he might take money from us. I mean, that's the regular concern, you see. And it's understandable. It's understandable. And the marriage is also like this, Kiske saath shadi kar raha hai? With whom are you marrying? How rich the family is, all these things, money all the time. Right? So that's how they think. But then if you spend some time with them, explain the reason, the benefit that you got from Buddhism, your plan to do many good things to other people, things like that, then they may be happy. I know one person. I know many. I'm now old, I know many. So there was one monk from Canada. So in the beginning, he was basically a hippie. In Dharamsala, used to have a lot of hippies in the beginning, mostly hippies, not standard people like you. Mostly they were hippies. So he was also kind of hippie, He was, of course, not a monk. He was hippie, going around, a little bit kind of funny, But then he got in touch with the monks. And then he started studying Buddhism a little bit. And then we used to debate, I know very well debate. And he would, in the beginning, the Tibetan monks are very jovial, They'll ask questions, touch your head and pull the hair, all those things. So he immediately get angry, things like that. Then gradually he got used to all these things and become a very nice person. So in the beginning, even their parents refused to meet him or talk to him. Then gradually he really studied so hard, he became a good scholar, he wrote books, translated books, So then his parents came to see him, he maintained good relationship, like that. Things change, you see, things change. And actually you can also tell them that way you can also help them better. Helping is not just money, you see, serving them also. To become a monk means you're going to serve others. Serve others means, first of all, your parents. They'll be happy, you see. Right? So you need to give a little bit of time and think. Once somebody again asked me a question, my parents are not interested in Buddhism. I'm very interested, so how should I help them? I said, never tell them read Buddhism. The only thing you do is, you read your Buddhist texts and smiling, happy, Then you just leave it on the table or chair. when you are gone, it's very likely the parents will pick up at it. After all, we are monkeys, you know. You know, one Tibetan scholar, he said, all human activities are imitations. And whoever does the best imitation is called a scholar. Right? Okay? Any other questions?
What do you think of samadhi practice?
Huh?
Samadhi practice, these deep meditative states, jhana practice. Is it familiar to you? Samadhi.
Samadhi means one-pointed concentration. One-pointed concentration. We briefly read that line where it spoke about the three trainings, three precepts: morality, shila, samadhi, parya. Morality, concentration, wisdom. These three actually summarizes most of the Buddhist teachings. Now, out of these three, morality is like a ground. Without this ground, you can't come up with any construction. You have no support. You can't exist. So without morality, samadhi is impossible. Wisdom is impossible. The Hindi word for this morality is shil. This word shil comes from shitalta. That means coolness, maintaining coolness of the mind. Coolness of the mind means when you don't develop attachment, don't develop anger, don't develop jealousy, your mind remains cool. When your mind remains cool, then of course you can concentrate. When you are able to concentrate, then your mind is penetrative, you can also analyze and develop the wisdom. Right? But the question you asked is about samadhi, concentration. I think it was Plato or Aristotle, I don't know, Plato probably, who said, concentration is the source of success both in war and in peace. Both in war and peace, concentration is the source of success. You see? Take the example of a laser beam. If the light or the rays of the laser beam are scattered, they don't have much power to cut through steel. But when the rays of the light of the laser beam are concentrated, it can cut through steel. Similarly, when you take pictures, photographs, then you need to focus the camera. When you focus, then you get a good picture, right? If it is not focused, then the picture will be hazy, not clear. So focus, concentration means focus. Focus means basically pulling your energy together, right? That's very, very important. Channeling your energy together to be able to do something, you really need to pull your energy together. Then you achieve much success. Even in a short time, you can achieve much success. If you don't have that concentration, as we already been saying, if your mind is scattered and distracted and excited, you can't achieve success. So therefore, to achieve that concentration, you need to do away two things: mental dullness and mental excitement. When you try to focus on one thing, either the mind will get very excited, physically you are sitting there, but the mind is having picnic, right? So you've already lost the object. Now sometimes when you try to focus, your mind becomes dull, and then gradually you start sleeping. You already missed the object, but still thinking you are concentrating, because sleeping is very peaceful, right? So therefore it's important to make sure that the mind has clarity and stability. Clarity means clear picture of the object, and the mind stays on that object stably. That's important. Okay. Okay, stop here today. See you tomorrow.